Plans are made years in advance, and changes are not made quickly. Regardless of the tariff, seeds like this will be planted in the field.
We want to make sure trade is fair for everyone and for every product. We're hoping there's a way to achieve that without devastating American agriculture. Because what's happening now isn't just another trade skirmish. It's a collapse of the entire U.S. agricultural system. Across the country, fields are going unplanted. Grain silos are overflowing with crops no one is buying, dairy tanks sit idle, and farmers, the very backbone of America's economy, are watching their markets vanish in real time. The trade war of 2025 has spiraled far beyond political debates. It's now a full-blown economic crisis. At the heart of it are U.S. tariffs, originally meant to shield American jobs, but now unintentionally strangling American exports. Let's start with soybeans. Once the crown jewel of U.S. agricultural exports, the soybean market is now in total disarray. Most U.S. soybeans are grown in Iowa, but just last Friday, China responded to President Trump's 145% tariff on Chinese goods by slapping a massive 125% tariff on U.S. soybeans. According to the president of the American Soybean Association, this news is devastating. China, the world's largest buyer of soybeans, has pulled out of the American market entirely. That 125% tariff makes U.S. soybeans completely uncompetitive. Since January, not a single new order has been placed. Prices have collapsed. Storage tanks are packed. Meanwhile, Brazil is booming, cashing in on the vacuum left behind. Chinese orders have shifted south, driving Brazilian soybean prices higher, while U.S. farmers are cutting back just to stay afloat. In Wisconsin alone, soybean acreage is projected to fall by over 12%. Nationwide, farmers are pulling back by the millions of acres. Some are switching to other crops like corn, others are giving up altogether. But corn isn't a safe bet either. Prices are dropping fast. The once promising Chinese market has slammed its doors shut, and even Mexico, America's top corn buyer, is threatening to impose its own retaliatory tariffs. Farmers are still planting corn, but they're doing it with a sense of deep unease rather than optimism. Quick pause. If this message matters to you, hit the like button to help push it through the algorithm. Back to the story. China isn't just cutting off soybeans and corn. They're also canceling sorghum imports at a massive scale. Instead, they're locking in long-term deals with Brazil and Argentina. Deals that could be very difficult, if not impossible, for the U.S. to win back even after the trade war ends. Grains aren't the only sector under siege. U.S. pork, once in high demand across China and Mexico, is now facing tariffs exceeding 170% in some cases. It's practically banned. Orders have dried up. Hog farmers are drowning in oversupply and prices have crashed. Beef is in trouble too. While the impact hasn't been as severe yet, new Chinese tariffs and looming retaliation from Canada and Europe threaten to unravel hard-won export gains. Meanwhile, the dairy sector is already in full collapse. China's 125% tariff on U.S. dairy products has crushed exports of whey, milk powder, and cheese. Cold storage facilities are maxed out, prices are plunging, and many dairy farms are staring financial ruin in the face. And just overnight, more bad news. China announced another round of tariff hikes on U.S. goods, maintaining rates up to 125%. Chinese officials have made it clear they won't even attempt to match future U.S. tariff increases because, frankly, American goods just aren't marketable at these inflated prices. Even traditional allies like Canada and Mexico are rethinking their partnerships with U.S. agricultural suppliers. Processors are pulling back, contracts are being reconsidered, farms are bracing for even harder times ahead. Specialty crops haven't been spared either. California's almond growers have lost access to the Chinese market. Citrus producers are getting hit with new duties from both China and Canada. Washington's prized apple and cherry exports to Asia have nosedived. Pears are rotting in storage facilities. And across rural America, farmers are asking the heartbreaking question, who are we growing for anymore? Sorghum, once a bright spot in America's agricultural exports, has been nearly wiped out. U.S. sorghum exports to China have plummeted by 95%. With no major buyers, the grain is either being stored indefinitely, dumped, or sold at devastating losses. Farmers are cutting back their acreage, gambling on risky alternatives, or simply walking away. But no matter what they try, the outlook is bleak. And it's not just sorghum. Wheat is now under pressure too. China has shifted its buying to Australia and Argentina, while Europe is signaling that new tariffs on U.S. grain could soon be on the table. Farmers across the Midwest are beginning to wonder if they'll have any customers left at all by year's end. What we're witnessing isn't just an economic downturn, it's an existential threat. Farmers are suing for relief, states are pushing back against federal policies, trade groups are demanding urgent action. Behind closed doors in Washington, panic is setting in. Sadly, this isn't the first time American farmers have been caught in the middle. Back in 2018, a similar trade war cost U.S. agriculture an estimated $27 billion, mostly from soybean losses. But now, in 2025, the situation is even worse. There are fewer bailout programs, less political patience, and prices that have dropped to unsustainable levels. American agriculture is being sidelined on the world stage, and competitors are moving aggressively to fill the gap. Brazil is exporting record amounts of soybeans and corn. Europe is stepping up to fill dairy orders. Argentina is signing new wheat contracts. Even India is expanding into global nut markets. While U.S. farmers wait for help, the rest of the world is racing ahead. At the consumer level, the effects are already being felt. Grocery prices are climbing. Everyday essentials, shrimp, fruits, spices, now come with inflated price tags thanks to rising import tariffs. And it's not just food. Inputs like fertilizer, feed, and packaging materials have become more expensive, pushing costs even higher. Families, especially those living paycheck to paycheck, are feeling the squeeze like never before. Meanwhile, farmers are facing the worst financial disaster in decades. Bankruptcies are rising. Loan defaults are becoming commonplace. Orders for new farming equipment are being canceled en masse. And perhaps most heartbreakingly, mental health crises are surging in rural communities. This is no longer just a trade war, it's a full-blown rural recession. So what is the government doing? So far, not enough. There's been a temporary 90-day delay on some tariffs, vague promises of future negotiations, and talk of another bailout package. But farmers aren't asking for temporary fixes. They need stability. They need buyers. They need contracts they can count on. What they're getting instead is endless uncertainty. The longer this drags on, the deeper and more permanent the damage becomes. This isn't just about this year's harvest. It's about trust. Foreign buyers are shifting their supply chains to more reliable partners. Once those relationships are broken, rebuilding them could take decades, if it's even possible. American agriculture was built on reliability, quality, and long-term relationships. But in 2025, that reputation is eroding fast. Across the country, a painful question is growing louder. How much more can our farmers endure? This is about survival now. Family farms, the heartbeat of rural America, are being pushed to the edge. Generations-old farms are shutting down. Livestock is being sold off. Rural banks are tightening credit. Agricultural fairs, once symbols of celebration, are now filled with worry, empty booths, and foreclosure signs. The emotional toll is massive. Mental health hotlines in farming states are fielding record numbers of calls. Therapists in rural areas like Iowa and Nebraska report skyrocketing cases of anxiety, depression, and suicide risk. The fear of losing land, legacy, and livelihood isn't just an abstract worry anymore, it's happening right now. Meanwhile, in Washington, political leaders keep repeating the same talking points. But out on the back roads and in the small towns, patience is running thin. In Beijing, São Paulo, and Brussels, the world is already moving on, forming new trade partnerships, building new supply chains, forging new loyalties. American farmers are left watching their hard-earned place in global markets slip away, not because of drought, pests, or disease, but because of a trade war they never asked for. Before we wrap up the video, if you found today's content useful, don't forget to give it a like and share. It's so others can follow along too. And as always, the comment section is wide open. Feel free to share your thoughts. Whether you agree or disagree, we genuinely want to hear from you. Thanks for taking the time to watch, and we'll see you in the next video.